The mystery of the lead mask case. The unsolved lead masks case originated in the mountainous regions of Rio de Janeiro. During a particularly sunny summer day in 1966, a young guy accidentally made a chilling discovery. Adjacent to each other, and appearing to be unharmed, the deceased individuals donned lead masks covering their eyes. The little possessions they had at their disposal provided no explanations as to what happened to them, and one of them had a note in his pocket that further intensified the mystery. Over time, several hypotheses on the mysterious incident have surfaced, encompassing both ordinary and supernatural explanations. Nevertheless, detectives remain unaware of the reasons behind the two deceased individuals donning lead masks, the specific factors that attracted them to the Rio Highlands, or even how they passed away in the first place. A young man called Jorge da Costa Alves made the decision on August 20th, 1966, to launch his kite into the hills. During his stroll around Vintém Hill in Niterói, Rio de Janeiro, he encountered the alarming sight of two deceased individuals buried in the dense vegetation. When the cops came, they discovered an unusual scene. Both deceased individuals donned raincoats over their tailored clothes and improvised lead masks to cover their eyes. Close by were a vacant water bottle, a few towels, and a little amount of money. However, the most peculiar indication was a note found in the pocket of one of the deceased individuals. The text stated the following: 16:30, be at agreed place. 18:30, swallow capsules. After effect, protect metals, wait for mask signal. The case involving lead masks had commenced. However, while the police successfully collected further information regarding the deceased individuals in the subsequent days, each response merely prompted further inquiries. Law enforcement promptly identified the individuals as Manuel Pereira da Cruz, age 32, and Miguel José Viana, age 34. Both of them were married technicians specializing in electronics, hailing from Campos dos Goitacazes, some 175 miles northeast of Niterói. Armed with their identities, the authorities endeavored to follow their footsteps. The investigation revealed that Pereira da Cruz and Viana informed their families on the morning of August 17th about their intention to travel to São Paulo in order to purchase equipment and a vehicle. The two men had instead embarked on a bus bound for Niterói. Upon reaching Niterói at 4 in the afternoon, the men made multiple stops. They purchased indistinguishable raincoats from a nearby department store and a bottle of mineral water from a bar. Noteworthy, they retained their receipt, indicating their intention to return the empty bottle at a later time for the reimbursement. Nevertheless, those who recalled them could discern that something was amiss. The barman who had furnished Viana and Pereira da Cruz with the water bottle remembered that Viana appeared anxious. According to her account to the police, he repeatedly inspected his watch. Shortly thereafter, the lead masks case became inaccessible. Manuel Pereira da Cruz and Miguel José Viana were last seen departing for the nearby hills at approximately 3:15 in the afternoon. 3 days later, they were found lifeless. Presently, the precise events that transpired in the hills of Rio de Janeiro during that peculiar August remain uncertain. Due to their extensive decomposition, the bodies of Pereira da Cruz and Viana provided little indications for a precise toxicology analysis. Nevertheless, theories have developed throughout the years. As authorities found at the time, Pereira da Cruz and Viana were not just technicians in the field of electronics repair. According to Pereira da Cruz's wife, both individuals had experimented with scientific spiritism and had a fascination with establishing communication with extraterrestrial beings. They had made several attempts with their acquaintance, Elcio Gomez. At one point, a collaboratively constructed electronic gadget spontaneously detonated in the backyard of Pereira da Cruz. In an apparent attempt, the trio retested the device on a beach and asserted to have observed a meteorological detonation in the atmosphere. However, law enforcement pursued more conventional leads. The authorities briefly considered Gomes as a potential suspect after Pereira da Cruz's wife reported that he had engaged in a physical altercation with her husband. Furthermore, Gomes had recounted conflicting narratives to them. Moreover, Hamilton Bazzani confessed to the police that he had assisted in the theft and taking the life of Pereira de Cruz and Viana after encountering them at a spiritualism center and enticing them to Niterói. Nevertheless, the police authorities were unsuccessful in substantiating his account. Ultimately, it is insufficient to ascertain the motives behind the two men's decision to venture into the hills. The mystery persists in captivating and exasperating readers as the events that unfolded once they reached the summit remain unknown. With a specific objective in mind, Manuel Pereira de Cruz and Miguel José Viana ascended Vintem Hill. An eye mask made of lead was carefully placed over their eyes. Then their world vanished, and the mystery surrounding the lead mask's case continues to this day. The mystery of the Somerville light. Nestled in the quiet, rural expanse of Somerville, South Carolina, lies a mystery that has perplexed and fascinated residents and visitors alike for generations. Known as the Somerville light, this eerie, glowing phenomenon has been the subject of countless stories, sightings, and investigations. Appearing on a dark, deserted stretch of road outside of town, the Somerville light is often described as a single glowing orb that hovers just above the ground, illuminating the night with an otherworldly glow. While many have attempted to explain the light through science or folklore, its true nature remains elusive, leading many to believe that it is a genuine and unexplained phenomenon. The first recorded sightings of the Somerville light date back to the early 20th century, although local legends suggest that the phenomenon may have been observed long before then. According to these accounts, the light appears most frequently on foggy or misty nights, when the conditions are just right for the mysterious orb to manifest. It is often seen along an old abandoned road that runs through the dense woods outside Somerville, a location that only adds to the eerie atmosphere surrounding the light. Witnesses describe the Somerville light as a bright, white or yellowish orb that hovers in the air, moving slowly along the road or through the trees. The light is often reported to change size and intensity, sometimes appearing as a small, faint glow, and at other times as a large, blazing sphere that lights up the entire area. Despite its brightness, the light does not seem to have a visible source, such as a lantern or vehicle, and it moves in ways that defy conventional explanation. Over the years, the Somerville light has become a local legend, with residents sharing stories of their own encounters with the mysterious orb. Some claim to have seen the light from a distance, while others report having been approached by the light as they drove or walked along the old road. In some cases, the light is said to have followed them, keeping pace with their vehicle or appearing in their rearview mirror, only to disappear as suddenly as it appeared. The Somerville light has inspired numerous theories and explanations over the years, as people have tried to make sense of the phenomenon. One of the most common explanations is that the light is the result of natural causes, such as swamp gas or reflections from distant lights. Swamp gas, or methane, is known to produce a faint glow when it comes into contact with oxygen, and some believe that the conditions in the Somerville area might be just right for this to occur. However, skeptics of the swamp gas theory point out that the Somerville light does not behave like typical swamp gas ignitions, which are usually short-lived and erratic. The Somerville light, by contrast, is often observed for extended periods of time and appears to move with purpose, as if guided by an unseen hand. Another popular theory is that the light is a form of ball lightning, a rare and poorly understood atmospheric phenomenon that involves glowing, spherical objects of electricity. Ball lightning is known to appear during thunderstorms or other electrical disturbances, and it can move in unpredictable ways. However, like the swamp gas theory, this explanation does not fully account for the behavior of the Somerville light, which is often seen on calm, clear nights when there is no electrical activity in the area. For those who believe in the paranormal, the Somerville light is often seen as a manifestation of ghostly or supernatural energy. Some local legends suggest that the light is the spirit of a long-dead railroad worker who lost their life in a tragic accident along the old road. According to this story, the worker's ghost returns on certain nights, carrying a lantern as he searches for something lost or unfinished. Others believe that the light is a portal to another dimension or a glimpse of an alternate reality, a view that adds to the mystique and allure of the phenomenon. The Somerville light has become more than just a mystery, it is a part of the town's cultural fabric. The Blackbird of Chernobyl. On April 26, 1986, the world witnessed one of the most catastrophic nuclear disasters in history, the explosion of Reactor 4 at the Chernobyl nuclear power plant in Ukraine. But in the months leading up to this disaster, a strange and eerie phenomenon was reported by the workers at Chernobyl, a mysterious winged creature that has since become known as the Blackbird of Chernobyl. According to the residents of Pripyat and workers at the Chernobyl power plant, this creature was seen hovering ominously over the plant and occasionally perching on the large towers and construction areas. The sightings, which began in the weeks and months before the disaster, were marked by a sense of foreboding and dread, with many of those who encountered the creature reporting feelings of unease and fear. For some, the appearance of the Blackbird was an omen, a warning of the impending disaster that would soon change their lives forever. The first sightings of the Blackbird of Chernobyl were reported in early 1986, just a few months before the reactor explosion. Workers at the plant began to notice a large, dark figure in the sky, resembling a bird, but much larger than any species known to the area. The creature was described as having a wingspan of at least 10 feet, with dark, leathery wings and piercing red eyes that seemed to glow in the dark. It was often seen circling the plant or perched on the massive cooling towers, its presence both mysterious and unsettling. As the sightings continued, reports of strange occurrences began to spread among the workers. Some claimed that the creature emitted a high-pitched screech that was both terrifying and unearthly. Others reported having vivid nightmares after seeing the Blackbird, dreams filled with images of destruction, fire, and death. A sense of impending doom began to take hold among those who had encountered the creature, with many fearing that it was a sign of something terrible to come. The Blackbird was not just a fleeting shadow or a figment of imagination. Its presence was felt deeply by those who saw it, leaving an indelible mark on their psyche. Some workers even reported receiving mysterious phone calls after their sightings, with a voice on the other end speaking in a language they could not understand, further heightening their sense of dread. As news of the explosion spread, those who had witnessed the Blackbird in the weeks leading up to the disaster began to piece together the connection. For them, the creature had been a harbinger of doom, a warning that went unheeded until it was too late. The Blackbird of Chernobyl, once dismissed by skeptics as a mere myth or mass hallucination, was now seen as an omen that had foretold the catastrophe. The disaster itself had devastating consequences. The legend of the Blackbird of Chernobyl has endured in the decades since the disaster, becoming part of the mythology surrounding the event. For some, the creature is seen as a symbol of the tragedy, a supernatural entity that appears before major disasters as a warning or an omen. Similar creatures have been reported in other parts of the world, often associated with catastrophic events, leading some to believe that the Blackbird is part of a broader phenomenon. In the years following the Chernobyl disaster, the legend of the Blackbird of Chernobyl has drawn comparisons to another famous creature from American folklore, the Mothman. The Mothman is a legendary figure first reported in the small town of Point Pleasant, West Virginia, in the mid-1960s. Like the Blackbird of Chernobyl, the Mothman is described as a large, winged creature with glowing red eyes, and its appearance is often linked to impending disaster. The parallels between the two creatures have led some to speculate that they may be connected, possibly even manifestations of the same supernatural entity. The story of the Mothman began in November 1966, when residents of Point Pleasant reported sightings of a large, bird-like creature with glowing red eyes and a wingspan of over 10 feet. The creature was often seen near the abandoned West Virginia Ordnance Works, a former military facility, and its presence quickly became associated with a sense of dread and impending doom. In the months following the initial sightings, the town of Point Pleasant was plagued by strange occurrences, including mysterious lights in the sky, unusual animal behavior, and eerie phone calls. The Mothman was spotted repeatedly, often near the site of these disturbances, and the sense of unease among the townspeople grew. The sightings culminated in a tragic event on December 15, 1967, when the Silver Bridge, which connected Point Pleasant to Gallipolis, Ohio, suddenly collapsed during rush hour, causing 46 people to lose their lives. The legend of the Mothman has since become an enduring part of American folklore, inspiring books, documentaries, and even a Hollywood film. For many, the Mothman is seen as a harbinger of disaster, a supernatural entity that appears to warn of impending tragedy. The similarities between the Blackbird of Chernobyl and the Mothman are striking. Both creatures are described as large, winged beings with glowing red eyes, and both are associated with a sense of foreboding and disaster. The fact that the Blackbird was sighted in the months leading up to the Chernobyl disaster, much like the Mothman was seen before the Silver Bridge collapse, has led some to speculate that the two creatures could be connected. One theory is that the Blackbird and the Mothman are different manifestations of the same supernatural entity. This entity, according to believers, appears in various forms to warn of impending disasters. The sightings of these creatures are seen as omens, meant to alert people to the danger that lies ahead. Proponents of this theory point to the consistent descriptions of the creatures, the timing of their appearances, and the similar feelings of dread reported by witnesses as evidence of a connection. Some researchers suggest that the Blackbird of Chernobyl and the Mothman might be part of a broader phenomenon of phantoms or creatures that appear before major disasters. These creatures are often described as having otherworldly characteristics, such as glowing eyes, unusual sizes, or the ability to vanish suddenly. Theories about their origins range from the paranormal to the extraterrestrial, with some suggesting that these beings are sent by higher powers to warn humanity of impending doom. The Lost Giants of Ecuador. In 2012, a remarkable discovery was unveiled in the depths of the Ecuadorian jungles. This discovery pertained to the remnants of an immense structure measuring 260 feet in height and 260 feet in width. Comprising numerous 2-ton blocks, the site was dubbed the Lost City of Giants by author and researcher Bruce Fenton. This title was inspired by the oversized tools unearthed in its proximity and the local folklore that recounts the existence of a civilization of colossal humans who once thrived in the area. The unearthing of these colossal tools and the allusions to a race of giant inhabitants has continued to captivate the imagination and intrigue of scientists and historians. The extensive scale of the structure's components and its contextual association with massive tools has fueled intense speculation regarding the existence of a civilization of gigantic beings. The expansive edifice comprises a wall that inclines at a 60-degree angle, featuring a level surface at its pinnacle, which has yielded a plethora of artifacts upon excavation. Describing the site, Mr. Duvernay suggested that the configuration resembles a paved wall or an ancient thoroughfare or plaza characterized by a 60-degree inclination, conceivably serving as the cap of a larger architectural entity. The precision in the alignment of numerous stones, their impeccably sharp edges, and apparent human craftsmanship point to their deliberate sculpting. Mr. Duvernay shared these observations following an extensive expedition to the location during the months of April and May, providing valuable insights into the remarkable findings. The courageous explorers who chanced upon the remarkable structure have now embarked on the careful process of unveiling further details about their discovery. Among these findings is the unearthing of several massive stones featuring perfectly cut circular holes at their centers. This evidence serves to discredit the theory suggesting that the colossal pyramid-like structure could merely be a natural occurrence. Interestingly, it is becoming evident that the significance of this discovery surpasses initial expectations. The implications of this finding suggest that it may hold the key to unraveling many of South America's enigmatic mysteries, and could potentially lead to the revelation of one of the world's most coveted treasures. A multinational team of researchers has put forward the notion that the structure they have discovered could potentially serve as the resting place of Atahualpa, the final ruler of the Incan Empire. Atahualpa met his demise after being captured by the Spanish, resulting in the widespread belief that he was interred alongside a vast fortune in gold, collected by his adherents in an unsuccessful attempt to secure his freedom. The pursuit of this tomb and its accompanying riches has captured the imagination of historians and treasure hunters globally, prompting numerous expeditions in search of this elusive prize, yet none have succeeded in their quest thus far. Bruce Fenton, a British researcher residing in Ecuador and well-versed in the indigenous cultures of the region, holds a contrasting view. He suggests that the recently unearthed site might have origins predating the Inca era and possibly linked to an unidentified pre-Inca civilization. This perspective is rooted in the discovery of around 30 basic tools at the site, alongside the extensive erosion evident on the large stone blocks. The rudimentary tools and the level of erosion observed have led Fenton to postulate a significantly earlier timeline for the site's establishment, challenging the prevailing notion regarding its historical significance. The Ecuadorian authorities have been informed about the discovery, and a team of archaeologists and paleontologists is anticipated to undertake an official expedition. Nonetheless, the investigation of the site is hindered by treacherous conditions. The journey through thick, mountainous jungle from the closest town takes approximately 8 hours, with one of the routes being notorious for the dangers posed by attacks from African bees. Despite these challenges, efforts are underway to facilitate a comprehensive exploration of the area to unveil its historical and scientific significance. For those unaware, back in 2012 when the initial discovery was made, the site under exploration, a remarkably colossal pyramidal-style edifice measuring about 80 meters in both length and height, is situated, featuring steeply inclined walls. This construction comprises asymmetrical, large, hewn stone blocks, with each block estimated to weigh around 2 tons at present. The walls of the structure consist of hundreds of these blocks meticulously assembled together. This architectural marvel showcases meticulous craftsmanship and engineering, reflecting the advanced skills of its builders and leaving a significant impact on the site's historical and archaeological significance. In the elevated region, there lies a level surface that is believed to have functioned as a ceremonial or possibly sacrificial platform utilized by priests. Surrounding this area, numerous stone and pottery artifacts are strewn about. Several of these items bear resemblance to stone tools that might have been employed in either mining or refining various types of metal ore. Both the architectural style of the structures and the nature of the discovered objects point towards an enigmatic pre-Inca civilization. Notably, further examination is imperative to corroborate these observations, a task that Fenton and his team are poised to undertake in the imminent future. This comprehensive investigation aims to shed light on this ancient culture and unearth new insights regarding its practices, beliefs, and technological advancements. Fenton's observations have identified certain tools within the site that would pose significant challenges for an average-sized individual to wield effectively. As a result, he has postulated that this location could be linked to the fabled lost cities of the giants, a prominent element in local Ecuadorian folklore centered on the Amazonian region. These sites instill profound apprehension in contemporary jungle tribes, as they are believed to be safeguarded by spiritual sentinels or entities not of terrestrial origins. Such legends have endured, evoking both fear and fascination, and continue to permeate the modern understanding of this enigmatic locale. Local folklore tells of colossal humans inhabiting long-forgotten cities steeped in the annals of time. Evidence of giant skeletal remains discovered in caves within the region and across various parts of Ecuador lends credence to these tales. Historically, this specific locale was revered as a major convergence point for diverse tribes, with groups from as far as Brazil making the arduous journey due to the area's perceived enduring significance and considerable energetic resonance. The research team has currently discovered numerous substantial hills in close proximity to the authenticated pyramid construction, with each hill matching the supposed pyramid in size. It is plausible that these hills could potentially be undiscovered pyramids. If proven true, this discovery could indicate the existence of a remarkably large city and a complex of pyramids. This finding has the potential to significantly reshape our understanding of the historical and archaeological landscape in the region. A globally diverse group of specialists in ancient megalithic structures and pyramid technologies are making preparations for upcoming expeditions to the location. Their objective includes precise mapping and the production of a 1-hour documentary highlighting the remarkable attributes of this captivating site. During the course of the investigation, extensive soil removal on a large hill exposed what appear to be carefully cut and refined stone blocks. These blocks exhibit remarkably smooth surfaces, their aging process seemingly slowed by a protective layer of earth. Conversely, on an alternate side of the pyramid structure, a weathered and eroded wall has been unveiled, contrasting with the stones still concealed by soil. This observation lends support to the hypothesis that, if of human origin, the site is indeed exceptionally ancient, surpassing the age of other known sites in Ecuador. Fenton has put forth the theory that a seismic event or a heavy tropical rainstorm triggered a landslide, resulting in the descent of soil and vegetation from one of the walls. The pyramid wall exhibits a diverse range of shapes and sizes in its blocks, creating a seemingly disorderly yet intriguingly unique architectural style. If it were indeed constructed by humans, the construction challenges faced by the engineers and builders of that era would have been quite significant. Upon close examination of the stone blocks, it is evident that a resilient bonding substance, akin to cement or concrete, exists between them. While it is widely believed that the Inca civilization refrained from using mortar and instead fashioned blocks to seamlessly interlock, the presence of bonding material amidst certain large cut stone blocks challenges this notion. Closer scrutiny also raises the possibility that this substance could be a form of vitrified material. Furthermore, instances of vitrified stone have been observed at various ancient sites across Latin America, indicating a recurring phenomenon. This discovery sheds new light on the construction techniques employed by ancient civilizations, prompting further exploration and analysis in the field of archaeology. The researchers at the excavation site also stumbled upon what seemed to be exceptionally large implements, seemingly impractical for individuals of average stature to wield. This discovery has prompted Fenton to speculate that this site could be one of the fabled lost cities of the giants, prominently featured in local Ecuadorian folklore about the Amazonian region. These legends revolve around colossal humanoids who inhabited cities that have since faded into obscurity throughout history. Notably, the region has seen the unearthing of massive skeletal remains in caves, further reinforcing the presence of gigantic inhabitants, a phenomenon not limited to this particular area but also observed in various other regions of Ecuador. The implements seem to resemble excessively large hammers, perhaps with stone heads. If these were affixed to sturdy wooden shafts, they would possess remarkable size and weight, rendering them impractical for everyday use by the average Incan or indigenous Indian. These individuals were typically of slight build, with an average height of about 5 feet, making it challenging for them to wield such hefty tools effectively. The unresolved mystery of Jim Sullivan's disappearance. In the annals of unsolved mysteries, few cases are as baffling and mysterious as the disappearance of singer-songwriter Jim Sullivan. A promising talent on the brink of success, Sullivan's vanishing act in the vast expanse of the California desert has captured the imagination of sleuths and music aficionados for decades. As the years have passed, the mystery has only deepened, leaving behind a trail of unanswered questions and speculation. Jim Sullivan was a folk rock musician whose debut album, UFO, released in 1969, garnered critical acclaim and garnered him a devoted following in the burgeoning Los Angeles music scene. With his haunting vocals, introspective lyrics, and soulful guitar playing, Sullivan seemed poised for stardom, his talent shining brightly against the backdrop of the turbulent 1960s. However, just as Sullivan's star was on the rise, tragedy struck. In March 1975, while en route from Los Angeles to Nashville to pursue his musical aspirations, Sullivan embarked on a fateful journey through the vast Mojave Desert. It would be a journey from which he would never return. The circumstances surrounding Sullivan's disappearance are shrouded in mystery and speculation. According to reports, Sullivan's car was found abandoned on a remote desert road, with no sign of struggle or foul play. His belongings, including his guitar, were discovered inside the vehicle, seemingly untouched. Yet there was no trace of Sullivan himself, prompting a massive search effort by authorities and volunteers alike. As days turned into weeks and weeks into months, the search for Jim Sullivan yielded few clues and no conclusive answers. Sightings were reported, leads were followed, but each new development seemed to only deepen the mystery surrounding his disappearance. Some speculated that Sullivan had met with foul play, while others theorized that he had simply wandered off into the desert, overwhelmed by personal demons or the pressures of the music industry. One of the most tantalizing theories to emerge from the investigation into Sullivan's disappearance is the notion of a paranormal or extraterrestrial encounter. Given the title of Sullivan's debut album and the otherworldly themes present in his music, some have speculated that his vanishing act may have been connected to his fascination with the unknown and the unexplained. Sullivan himself had purportedly spoken of experiencing strange and otherworldly phenomena in the days leading up to his disappearance. According to reports, He had confided in friends and acquaintances about encounters with mysterious lights in the desert sky and a sense of being followed or watched. While some dismissed these accounts as the ramblings of a troubled artist, others saw them as potential clues to unlocking the mystery of Sullivan's fate. In the years that followed Sullivan's disappearance, his music continued to garner a cult following among fans and collectors, with his album UFO achieving legendary status among aficionados of obscure and overlooked gems from the era. Yet, despite the enduring legacy of his music, the mystery of Jim Sullivan's disappearance remained unsolved, casting a shadow over his career and leaving a void in the hearts of those who knew and admired him. Numerous theories have been proposed over the years in an attempt to unravel the mystery of Sullivan's disappearance. Some suggest that he may have succumbed to the harsh conditions of the desert, while others speculate that he may have intentionally disappeared, seeking to escape the pressures of fame and the constraints of society. Yet, amidst the speculation and conjecture, one thing remains certain. The disappearance of Jim Sullivan is a mystery that continues to haunt and intrigue those who dare to delve into its depths. As the years pass and the trail grows colder, the truth behind Sullivan's vanishing act may never be known, leaving his fate to linger in the realm of the unknown and the unexplained. In the annals of music history, Jim Sullivan's disappearance stands as a testament to the fragility of fame and the enduring allure of the unknown. Though his voice may have been silenced, his music lives on, a haunting reminder of a talent lost too soon and a mystery that may never be solved. The mystery of Blackbeard's treasure. Few figures in history have captured the public's imagination quite like Blackbeard, the infamous pirate who terrorized the seas during the early 18th century. Known for his fearsome appearance, with a thick black beard and a reputation for ruthlessness, Blackbeard, whose real name was Edward Teach, became a legend in his own time. Among the many stories that surround Blackbeard, one of the most enduring is the mystery of his lost treasure. Despite centuries of searching, the whereabouts of Blackbeard's legendary hoard remains unknown, tantalizing treasure hunters and historians alike with the prospect of untold riches hidden somewhere along the eastern seaboard of the United States. Blackbeard was born around 1860 in Bristol, England, and began his seafaring career as a privateer during the War of the Spanish Succession. After the war ended, many privateers turned to piracy, and Blackbeard was no exception. By 1716, he had taken to the high seas as a pirate captain, commanding a fleet of ships and building a fearsome reputation. His flagship, the Queen Anne's Revenge, was a captured French vessel that he equipped with 40 guns, making it one of the most formidable pirate ships of its time. Blackbeard's exploits were legendary. He and his crew roamed the Caribbean and the eastern coast of the American colonies, plundering ships and coastal settlements. His reputation for brutality was well earned, and he cultivated a terrifying image, tying slow-burning fuses into his beard that would smolder and emit smoke, giving him a demonic appearance during battle. Blackbeard's reign of terror reached its peak in 1718, when he blockaded the port of Charleston, South Carolina, and extorted a ransom from the town's inhabitants. Despite his fearsome reputation, Blackbeard was also a shrewd and cunning leader. He often avoided unnecessary violence, preferring to intimidate his enemies into surrendering without a fight. This strategy allowed him to accumulate a vast amount of wealth during his brief but notorious career. However, Blackbeard's luck ran out later that same year when he was killed in a fierce battle with British naval forces off the coast of North Carolina. The story of Blackbeard's lost treasure begins with his death. On November 22, 1718, Blackbeard was killed in a battle with Lieutenant Robert Maynard of the Royal Navy. After his death, rumours began to circulate that Blackbeard had buried a vast treasure somewhere along the coast, intending to retrieve it later. These rumours were fueled by the fact that, despite his successful pirate career, very little of Blackbeard's wealth was ever recovered. Contemporary accounts suggest that Blackbeard had accumulated a significant amount of gold, silver, and other valuables during his raids, but none of this treasure was found on his ship or among his personal effects. The idea of buried pirate treasure captured the public's imagination, and Blackbeard's supposed hoard became the stuff of legend. Over the centuries, numerous locations have been proposed as the possible hiding place of Blackbeard's treasure, including the Outer Banks of North Carolina, the coast of Virginia, and even the Caribbean islands where Blackbeard once operated. Treasure hunters have scoured these areas, digging up beaches and searching underwater wrecks in the hopes of finding the lost riches. Despite the many searches, Blackbeard's treasure has never been found, leading some to question whether it ever existed at all. Historians point out that, while the idea of buried treasure is a romantic one, there is little evidence to suggest that pirates actually buried their loot. Most pirate treasures were likely spent or traded soon after they were acquired, rather than being hidden away for future retrieval. However, the mystery of Blackbeard's lost treasure persists, fueled by occasional discoveries of pirate artifacts and shipwrecks. In 1996, the wreck of the Queen Anne's Revenge was discovered off the coast of North Carolina. The site has yielded a wealth of historical artifacts, including cannons, weapons, and personal items belonging to Blackbeard and his crew. While no treasure has been found at the site, the discovery has renewed interest in the search for Blackbeard's lost wealth. Some treasure hunters believe that the clues to Blackbeard's treasure may lie in old maps, journals, or letters from the period. Others suggest that the treasure could be hidden in a location that has not yet been thoroughly explored, such as a remote island or an underwater cave. Modern technology, including sonar and underwater drones, has made it possible to search areas that were previously inaccessible, giving hope to those who continue the hunt. Theories about the location of Blackbeard's treasure are as varied as they are intriguing. Some believe that Blackbeard buried his loot on Ocracoke Island, a small barrier island off the coast of North Carolina, where he was known to have spent time. Others suggest that the treasure could be hidden in the swamps of Virginia or South Carolina, areas that would have provided ideal hiding places for a pirate on the run. One popular theory is that Blackbeard may have hidden his treasure on an island in the Caribbean, possibly one of the many small, uninhabited islands that dot the region. These islands would have been easy to reach by ship and difficult for authorities to search, making them ideal locations for a pirate cache. Another theory is that Blackbeard's treasure is not a physical hoard of gold and silver, but rather a hidden trove of documents, maps, or other valuable information that could have been used to secure more wealth or power. This theory suggests that the true value of Blackbeard's treasure lies not in its material worth, but in the secrets it holds. The mystery of Joseph Woods, Jr. On the 8th of July, back in 1999, a 34-year-old man by the name of Joseph Woods would suddenly go missing shortly before his expected attendance at a prestigious meeting amongst journalists from across the United States. Initially, co-workers grew suspicious at his absence, believing instead that he had decided to take an unscheduled day off. But as investigators looked more closely at the case of Joseph Woods, Jr., it would soon become apparent that something far more peculiar had occurred. While taking a short hike up the slopes of Mount Rainier, Joseph would seemingly vanish from a standard hiking trail, with eyewitnesses claiming to have seen him only a few minutes prior to his strange disappearance. According to the official missing persons report, Joseph worked as an editor for the book publishing company, The New Press, while he lived in New York City, where he grew up. After having graduated from Yale University with honors and receiving a bachelor's degree in journalism, Joseph was interested in pursuing a more journalistic career, and so would join the prestigious New York paper known as The Village Voice, where he would publish weekly articles on a variety of political and social topics. In 1996, however, seemingly becoming disinterested with news reporting and journalism, Joseph would eventually leave the paper and join the New Press as a writer and editor for many of the new popular books published all across New York. It would be while working for the New Press that Joseph Woods would be invited to attend the Unity 99 Inches meeting back on the 7th of July, 1999. According to online descriptions of the meeting, the Unity 99 was an organized national conference held in Seattle, Washington, which saw more than 8,000 minority journalists in attendance from all across the country to discuss pivotal groundbreaking work in journalism, as well as awarding out substantial rewards to key members and distinguished journalists in a private award ceremony. Joseph Woods would arrive at his hotel after a long flight in the late afternoon before leaving to join a private dinner with ex-co-workers, friends, and professional acquaintances. It would be at this private dinner that Joseph Woods would tell his friends that he planned on visiting the slopes of Mount Rainier for a casual stroll, and to enjoy a few hours of birdwatching to help relieve some of the stress that had been building up over the past few weeks. He would later detail that he planned on visiting the park as early as the next day, but was unsure of an exact time as he had been scheduled to attend an early morning news conference breakfast for the presidential candidate, Bill Bradley. Despite this obstacle, Joseph Woods still planned on visiting the trail at his earliest convenience. The next day, after attending the conference breakfast and renting a Mercury Marquis automobile for travel, Joseph would journey to the Mount Rainier National Park and arrive sometime in the early afternoon. According to official investigators, an exact receipt would later be found at the Nisqually entrance that would put an exact time to Joseph's arrival, with the recovered receipt marked for 12:29 in the afternoon as he entered the Longmire parking area. According to eyewitnesses later interviewed by investigators, Joseph was seen leaving his vehicle and heading for Mildred Point, a small outcropping along the basic hiking trails at around 5,900 feet in elevation, following the flow of the crowds and staying along the basic hiking trails used by amateur hiking visitors. Although investigators originally believed that Joseph Woods was another case of an inexperienced hiker getting lost after stepping away from the main trails, the truth would later be revealed when family members and friends were later asked by investigators for additional personal details surrounding Joseph and his experience in the outdoors. Investigators would later uncover that though Joseph stuck with the main amateur crowds while visiting the slopes, he had been an avid outdoorsman his entire life, even earning the title of Eagle Scout while he was a member of the Boy Scouts while growing up in New York. Additionally, the trail that Joseph had taken was a simple, wide trail that had clear pathways, making it impossible for someone to get injured or lost, even if they were an inexperienced traveler. Even more strange, Joseph did not make or have any plans to engage in any risky activity whatsoever, and should have made it back to his vehicle in less than a couple hours. The last known eyewitness to Joseph Woods' whereabouts was another visiting hiker in the area known as Bruce Gaumond. When search and rescue would later be called to the area, Bruce Gaumond would tell investigators that he had come across Joseph while he had been coming down the slope at around an altitude of 4,800 feet. He and Joe had talked for a few minutes while resting at the Rampart Ridge Trail, where they used their short break to compare notes on what birds the two men had both seen. When estimating the time that this encounter took place, Bruce was a little unsure but guessed that it must have accrued sometime around 2 in the afternoon, give or take 20 minutes or so. Shortly before the end of their conversation, Joseph Woods would ask Bruce Gaumond how much further the trail went up, to which Bruce replied that the trail was essentially closed, as it only continued up for about 10 more minutes, but was blocked off by some fresh snow and a questionable snow bridge. Additionally, Bruce would advise Joseph to not continue any further up the trail due to the snow bridge, which appeared to have been a sheet of fresh snow that covered over hidden ridgelines and unnoticeable crevasses, proving to be too dangerous to pass through without fear of accidentally falling into one of the deep, unseen caverns of the pass. Though Bruce Gaumond had assumed that Joseph Woods had returned to the base of the mountain after their talk, he would initially tell investigators that if Joseph Woods happened to be missing, he could have fallen into one of the questionable snow bridges had he instead continued up the trail. Unfortunately for investigators, the early hours of Joe's disappearance were lost, as he had not yet been reported missing anywhere around when he had last been seen by Bruce Gaumond. In fact, Joseph Woods would not be reported missing for over 48 hours following his disappearance. After missing the Unity 99 conference, a woman by the name of Somini Sengupta, a reporter for the New York Times and an ex-girlfriend to Joe, would become increasingly suspicious of his lack of attendance. According to Somini, she and Joseph had made plans to meet at the conference to catch up, as they had ended their relationship on good terms. Oddly enough, Joseph would never make it to the conference, leaving Somini extremely concerned after she would call his cell phone several times and not receive a single response. Unsure of what was going on, Somini would go to the hotel room that Joseph had been staying at when he arrived in Washington and ask the front desk if Joseph was okay. The front desk would then share with Somini Sengupta the bizarre information that Joseph had not checked back into his hotel for 2 days. Immediately upon hearing this news, Somini would contact the local authorities and file a missing persons report. It would not be until the following Monday that officials working at the Mount Rainier National Park would discover an abandoned car in Longmire Lot that investigators would later be alerted belonged to missing person Joseph Wood. After spending the day searching the vehicle and organizing with the National Park Service, investigators would locate the printed receipt that would place Joseph at the park sometime around 12:29 on the 8th of July. After hearing this news, the National Park Service would tell investigators that far too much time had passed since Joseph's disappearance, and that any sign of his trail that once existed in the 2 feet of packed snow was most likely melted into nothing more than an intraversible trail of mud and loose rocks. Even more problematic, the National Park Service had a difficult time organizing a search and rescue mission in the area, as the trail that Joseph had taken was one of the safest areas of the slopes and had no history of disappearances anywhere in the region. Confused as to where Joseph could have traveled that could have caused him to disappear, the National Park Service was forced to expand their search parameters several miles larger than they had the necessary man-hours for, and started in the area where the 1999 winter snow recorded the 3rd heaviest snowfall in the park's history, an area where large drifts of snow and ice were left behind on the mountainside. This forced search and rescue teams to cover a more than 10-square-mile area in the hopes of finding any sign of Joe. The only benefit the team believed they had was that the snow had already begun melting in the region, and if a body was lost anywhere in the small crevasses, it would be clearly visible by that point in time. Yet, despite several thousand man-hours of searching, with volunteers covering an area of 10 square miles, no sign of Joseph Woods or any of his belongings were discovered. It would not be for another 7 days that the National Park Service and missing person investigators would get any news on the disappearance of Joseph Woods, when on the 15th of July, Bruce Gaumond would come back to the Mount Rainier National Park after seeing a local news article about Joseph Woods' disappearance. Although by this point in time, search and rescue had given up hope on finding Joseph Woods alive, with a tighter search area and new information brought forward by Bruce Gaumond, the volunteers believed that they could locate and recover Joseph's body within a couple of days and help bring closure to the Woods family. On the following day, on Friday, July 16th, as the search and rescue team was in the area of where Joseph Woods had last been seen, a sudden rainfall began in the region of the primary search area. Several months after this event, some of the search and rescue volunteers would remark about how strange the sudden rainfall had been, as the area of the rain only appeared to be within the area designated for search, and had seemingly come out of nowhere with no weather forecast having predicted the sudden shower. It would be due to this mysterious rainfall that rescuers claimed they were forced to start scaling back their efforts in the region, and would tell Joe's family that given the rain, weather, and deteriorating trails, it was highly unlikely that Joseph survived anywhere on the slopes of the mountain over the last several days. Unfortunately for the Woods family, despite these renewed efforts, no further information was gathered. Supernatural and missing persons researcher David Paulides would later follow up the investigations of Joseph Woods and claim that many of the facets surrounding his disappearance and search and rescue efforts were increasingly strange. One of the more peculiar facts was that next to no individuals had gone missing at such a low elevation. Of the few who had disappeared at similar elevations, their remains were usually found quickly and were believed to have followed dangerous undesignated paths in uncommon areas, unlike Joseph Woods, whose body was never recovered and was believed to have only followed commonly laid out hiking trails. Despite Joe having been a very intelligent grown man and an experienced Eagle Scout, he was reported by the National Park Service to have most likely fallen from a broken bridge in one of the most crowded and safe hiking regions of the entire park, with no evidence of any broken bridge on any of the trails of Mount Rainier.